Hello everybody, today we are going to be finishing out all of our lectures/lessons for Interior Design 2. Now, this is a big unit. This is all Unit 5, which is going to be this entire lesson, is all about furniture styles and features, and this is going to be a long video. I'm guessing probably around an hour. So if you would like to break it up and only watch like half the video today and half the video on Thursday or whatever, and then take the Unit 5 test that's been posted, that's totally fine. If you want to do it all in one shot, that's fine as well. This is a lot of information, FYI, and so I'm going to go through it and I'm going to tell you how me and classes of the past have memorized things. And yes, some things are very, very silly the way that we've memorized them, and they're very weird, but it has worked in the past, so I will share those with you. Usually, because we go through a lot of information in this unit, I have you guys help me come up with weird ways to memorize some of the features, but since we can't do that, we're just going to do the best we can, and I'll tell you the ways that we've done it in the past. A lot of the features are super easy to memorize because they're named after exactly how they look. But then we get into like chair types and furniture types and styles, and those ones are a little harder because they're usually named after people and they're a little bit weirder. So I'll kind of go through all those with you. Like I said, this PowerPoint slide that I've made is like 145 slides. So this is going to be a little bit of a longer lesson, and you are welcome to break it up if you'd like. But I'm going to shoot it out in one video so we can get through it and get done if you want to go fast. After you have finished this lesson and taken the test is a big one as well because this unit is so big. I will be assigning you your final project for this class, and then we will be done. So after today's lesson, test, and I will assign you your final project. You do that project. You can do it as fast as you'd like. It'll be due on May 15th, and so I will assign it next week. If you would like to get it done in 2 days and submit it, then you're done with this class. If you'd like to drag it out till May 15th, that's totally fine as well. It's up to you. But we are going to go ahead and get started. So this is Interior Design 2, Unit 5, Furniture Styles and Features. Now, I do want to warn you a little bit. A lot of these, I have to technically teach you all of these styles and these features. And I've tried to find some items that are in style now, but these are all very old-fashioned items. So you're going to look at a lot of them and be like, ew, this is gross. And that's totally fine. I think the exact same thing. Okay, so we're going to start out with furniture legs, okay? And if you would like to print off the note guide, the note guide has pictures of everything, kind of like a smash book does, and you can write it in as we go, and that's 100% just to help you memorize them. That's totally fine. If you want to just watch, that's fine too, but the note guide is up on Canvas. If you'd like to print it out and follow along, it may help you out in the long run. So first we have our cabriole leg. This is a furniture leg that curves out at the middle and then tapers inward above an ornamental foot. Okay, so this is what a cabriole leg looks like. I bet if you were to look around your furniture pieces in your home, you may be able to find a cabriole leg. The way that we memorize this one is we would always say cabriole, like it rolls out, and so it has that curve at the top, and that's how we always memorize that one. Here are some cabriole legs that you may have noticed. They are very popular on those upholstered chairs, piano benches, you may see them also on some furniture pieces like tables, things like that. Just kind of depends on what your style is. This is a little bit more old-fashioned. Okay, then we have turned legs. I do like these. You can find these on several different pieces, both old and new. These are legs that have been shaped using various tools while on a block of wood that is spun on a lathe. And then you may not know what any of that is, but I'll show you a picture. Okay, so these are turned legs, all different types of styles. And this is what it means by it's spun on a lathe, okay? I do have a picture later on in the PowerPoint because we talk about turning a couple of times that shows how it's done with machinery, which is how it's usually done. However, if you are a skilled carpenter, you probably do it yourself because it's kind of cool. So this is a carpenter doing it himself on a lathe. A lathe is the machine that the leg is put on, and then it spins, and then they carve it into different shapes using the tools. So that's a lathe and that's a turned leg. Here are some examples of turned legs. I just have it on the island. If you look at the legs on the kitchen island, those are examples of turned legs, and there are lots of different styles. Here are some more examples of some turned legs. The one on the white table is a very common style that you may see often. The metal table has a pretty popular style as well. Okay, and then we have tapered. This leg becomes smaller and thinner towards the bottom, and that's what tapered just means in general. If anything's tapered, it means it's wider at the top and it tapers down and it thins out towards the bottom. This is a really popular leg right now because Scandinavian furniture is really popular, and Scandinavian furniture has tapered legs pretty often. So there's a tapered leg. And there's just some examples of some tapered legs. You can see it on the table. It get on both tables. They're wider at the top and they get a little bit thinner towards the bottom. Okay, and then we have splayed, also a popular look right now because Scandinavian furniture and modern furniture is in. This is a splayed leg look, and it is pretty popular. Splayed means they are spread at an angle from the center of the piece. It's a popular end table right there. Here we have some splayed legs on some dining tables or an end table. I can't tell if that white one's I can't tell how big that white table actually is. But they have a center point and they splay outwards. Okay, let's move on to furniture feet. We are not going to talk about all of the different feet on that picture. We're only going to talk, I believe, about 3 or 4 types of feet. But we'll go through those. And these ones are also pretty easy too because they're named pretty much how they look. First, you have your pad feet. These are rounded flat pads or discs at the end of furniture legs. So any foot that has that little flat, skinny piece on the bottom is going to be a pad, which makes it a pad foot. Also another piano bench, and this piano bench shows a cabriole leg as well with a pad foot. Okay, then we have a bun foot. These are rounded or bald feet, and then you also have a turn-up style of these. Let me go back. If you look at the 3rd foot down on the left side, that's similar to a bun foot, but it's got a skinnier piece towards the bottom, like an extra piece. That would be a turnip foot. We're not talking about turnip feet in this class, but I just wanted to let you know that those are the 2 versions of a bun foot. So these are rounded or bald feet, and they look like a hamburger bun. Here's my, oh, sorry, that is actually a turnip foot, but it is a style of a bun foot. So you can see on the bottom of that island or that kitchen counter that it's got the bun/turnip feet. The countertop as well has another bun/turnip, and then the bed has a bun type foot with a pad on the bottom. Okay, this one is, this one's always a little bit weird, but I do kind of like them. I like them on bathtubs. I don't think I would put them on my other furniture, but this one's super easy because it's called a ball and claw, and it looks like a ball inside of a claw. It's a furniture foot fashioned to represent a bird's claw gripping a ball, often carved entirely out of wood, but they can be out of metal and stones as well. So here's an example of a ball and claw end table, and then a ball and claw pool table. These feet are actually crazy popular on pool tables. So if you have a pool table, go look and see that there's a good chance you have a ball and claw foot on your pool table. Also, you can tell that both of those legs are cabriole legs with ball and claw feet. Sorry, my phone just went off. Okay, here's an example of a ball and claw foot on tubs, and I do like those. It's kind of a vintage look that I think I really enjoy, but just me personally. Okay, then we have our bracket feet. These are a simple corner foot that have an S-shaped curve or an L-shaped curve, and it just looks like a bracket, and it's either curved or straight. And I'll show you some examples of those brackets. Here are some examples of bracket feet being used on that dresser, and then the other one's zoomed in, so I can't tell what furniture piece that is, but that's a bracket foot. Okay, let's move on to chair backs. Once again, these ones are pretty easy as well because they look like they're named after how they look. Okay, here we have a lyre. Now, this one you may not know unless you are well versed in the musical world, but a lyre is another word for a harp. And so this is a lyre back chair. It resembles a harp/lyre, okay? Here are some examples of those being used. Okay, then we have a ladder chair. This one's super easy. It's a chair with a number of horizontal slats that look like a ladder. Here we go. And you can have them, they can be different shape. They don't have to be straight across like this one. They can have the curves in them like that one picture with the basket weave seats. Then we got some different colored ones. Then we have our splat back. This is a chair back having a vertical wood panel in the center, and it can resemble a vase or a fiddle. ooh, wait, let's go back. I think that picture with the gold, that should be a splat back, not a wire back. I think I put that in the wrong slide. Just in case you noticed that, that picture right there on the right is not a lyre back, it is a splat. I'll change that in the future. So here's your splat back, and some here examples of those being used. It's a solid piece of wood in the middle of your chair. The one on the right side has a tree carved into it, so it can resemble certain things if you'd like. And then we have our shield back chair. This is a chair back having a form resembling to somewhat heart shape or medieval shield. Here are some examples of those being used. I don't like the ones that have the stars and the clouds on the seat at all, just FYI. I don't really like any of these, but it is what it is. Okay, let's move on to decorative features. Okay, we've already talked about a few of these before in our very first unit, I believe, or our second unit of architectural features, because these can be used interiorly as well. So this is a finial. We've talked about that. You see them a lot on churches. This is a finishing ornament for a pediment, post, or spire, but they can be used in your interiors as well, and I'll show you where. They can be used on bedposts. Those ones are, looks like glass or crystal finials. They can be used on staircases. Actually, very popular to be used on banisters, okay? I wanted to show you a couple of different ones. You have the solid wood ones, and then you have like this crystal ball looking one, and then you have this even cooler one that can be like I think the ball can be removed from the like base of it, and you can shake it and it's like a snow globe. So if you're like super extra, there you go. Okay, and then we have a pediment. We have talked about these before, but there are 3 different types. This is a decorative design detail adapted from architecture and applied to furniture. Remember that really broad, really weird definition that can really go with anything. But remember, there is a pointed one that we talked about, and that's really popular on Greek architecture. But you also can have a curved one or a broken one, and I'm going to show you pictures of all of them. I believe I have pictures of all of them. Yeah, so here's an example. On the left side is going to be a broken pediment. On the right side is going to be a pointed pediment. This is a design detail that's very, very ornate and very extra. So if that's your type of style, this one is all you. Here is an example of both of these are pointed ones as well, but the one on the left side is a little bit more toned down, and it's over an oven instead of over a doorway, so it's a little bit different. Then we have the one with the horse statue on the right side that has the pointed pediment as well. Oh, I didn't show you any pictures of round pediments, but they're like a pointed one, but instead of having a point, it's rounded. Here we have reading. This is a row of parallel convex beads. Convex means it's pointed outwards, okay? And so it's like if you were to rub your hand against it, you're going to feel the bumps and the lumps in it, okay? So that's reading, and it's rows of parallel convex beads used to embellish a leg. The way that we always remembered this in class is we took the R from reading, and it's like the top part of a capital R, how it curves outwards. It's a convex portion of the letter, and so reading is kind of the same thing. Here are some examples. This one actually has reading and a bunch of different things, and this room is probably, I think the room, it looks like the room from Shrek 2, but who knows. And the convex reading is going to be on the bottom of those bedposts, and then also on the bottom of the nightstand. Here's some more examples of reading being used. Okay, then we have fluting. This is just like reading, however, instead of being convex, it's concave, okay? Meaning that it is carved inwards instead of it being a bumpy outward. And so we always think of the capital F, how it's got like the broken piece inside the 2 lines on the F, and that's kind of like a concave. And so that's how I remember that. And so these are like beads, but they're internal instead of convex. Here's the difference. Reading is outward, fluting is inward. Okay, then we have turning once again. It's like a turned leg. This is decorative spindles formed by turning a piece of wood on a lathe and cutting designs into the wood with a sharp knife as the piece spins. Here's an example of a very, very ornate staircase that uses a lot of different styles of turning for their banister pieces. Okay, here is an example of it being done once again by hand and then by a machine on the other picture. The one on the machine you can tell is very, very decorative and very ornate. Okay, now we're going to move into furniture styles. These ones where it can get a little bit more confusing because they're not necessarily named after how they look. They have like a name like after the style. So I'm going to go through and teach you how we memorize them as a class in the previous semesters. First, we have early American. These usually have turned legs, and it has a very square, blocky, it's very square and blocky, and it usually has a plank seat or a cane seat. That's like a woven seat. Okay, so if you see right there, it's kind of like that woven material or like that type of like basket weave. That's a cane seat. Here are some examples of some more early American. Very square, very blocky, very plain. Okay, then we have Queen Anne. This has a cabriole leg, a pad foot, and it usually has a shell motif. And so if you can see on the picture, I circled the shell, and usually a lot of Queen Anne's pieces of furniture have a shell somewhere on them. And also the wing chair, which we'll get to when we get to chair styles, is a Queen Anne, example of Queen Anne. Oh, there's an example of a wing chair right there. Sorry, with the gold, very old fashioned. You probably find it in your grandma's house. And then the shells are going to be on the cabriole legs. Here we have a dining chair that uses cabriole legs as well. And then you can see the shells on the very top. My niece just walked in and she's like, thinks I'm talking to people. And so she's being really like shy and really weird. Emma, you can come here. Come here. Do you want to come here? Okay. She's acting silly. Okay, so then we have our Chippendale. This is like, the way that I remember this is because it has a lot of features of like a chipmunk or like an animal. And because of that, it's like, I think of like the Chippendale Rescuers, like that little cartoon from forever ago. And so it's got ball and claw feet, ears, which is like the little pieces that stick out on the top of a chair. I have that circled as well, the red circle. It's got a Chinese influence black lacquer, which means it's just a really, really dark varnish. And then also the camelback couch. I'll show you a picture of that. Here's an example of the camelback couch. You can tell it's camelback because it's got a hump in the middle. And sometimes camelback couches can have multiple humps. Here on the next chair, you can see it's a very dark varnish. You've got the ball and claw feet, and you have the ears. Also, I apologize. I'm getting my floors redone in the basement. And so if you hear a lot of banging going on, that's probably what that is. Okay, then we have a Hepplewhite. Hepplewhite is a shield back and tapered legs. This was probably the weirdest way that we had memorized this in the past. When I think of Hepplewhite, you guys are going to make so much fun of me, but I'm going to tell you anyways. So Hepplewhite, we came up with this character named Mrs. Hepplewhite. Okay, she's like an old little British lady, our Mrs. Hepplewhite, because obviously if your last name's Hepplewhite, you're most likely British. Okay, and so and we pictured her as this short little, very round woman. Okay, and because she's so round, her middle section looks kind of like a shield. She's very, very round. Okay. However, when you have a very, very round person, their legs start out really wide and then it gets skinnier towards their short little ankles. And so we would picture our little Miss British Mrs. Hepplewhite with her body that's kind of shaped like a Hepplewhite chair. I apologize for the weirdness of that analogy or metaphor, but that's how we always remember the Hepplewhite. Okay, here's some examples of some more Hepplewhite chairs. Sorry, that one picture on the left is super blurry. I didn't realize that. Okay, and then we have our Sheraton. This is a very square back. It's a very square typed shape, and it's got tapered legs. Here are some examples of your Sheraton chairs. Sheraton, Squareton. That's how I always remember that. It's kind of strange, but the blue one's a little bit more in style, but still, it's not my particular taste. So Squareton, Sheraton. That's how I always remember that. And then here we have our Duncan Fife. The only way to remember this one really is I think of the name Duncan Fife, and I think because it is named after a man named Duncan Fife, and I think of Duncan Fife either being a liar or he plays the liar because he's a man, okay? But that's how I remember that one, and I apologize. Some of these are super weird. But a Duncan Fife has a liar back, and on their table pieces, some of their furniture, they have splayed legs, and then they have laurel leaves, and I'll show you what that is on the next slide. Laurel leaves is going to be that picture on the left. That's a popular ornamentation they add to that. There's an example of splayed legs on that table. And then there is a, if you're driving somewhere, I actually don't know where this is, but you know how they have like things you can stop and see for like road travelers? There is a monument to the Duncan Fife chair, and it's the largest Duncan Fife chair in America. So there you go. If you ever want to stop and see a Duncan Fife chair that size, look it up. See if it's on your road trip. Go for it. Okay, then we have our shaker chair. This is a very, very simple chair, and it has very structural lines, and it's got a ladder back. Okay, so it's kind of similar to an early American, but shaker actually used to be, I believe, let me look it up real quick while I'm talking to you, like I would in class. I think there is a religion, a religion called the Shakers, and they were very, very simplistic people. They lived kind of more of like an Amish lifestyle. And so I always think of a super simple style being like the Shaker religion, like the Shaker people. And so a ladder back, simple structural lines. And then we have our Victorian. This is like the house, the Victorian style house. Very, very ornate. It has tufting to it, and it has very elaborate carvings on wood parts. Here are some examples of some Victorian features. Also, you can see that that red couch in the middle is an example of a very dramatic camelback couch. Those are considered Victorian. Okay, then we have modern contemporary. This one is super simple. It's very, it can be very simple, very straight lines, but it can also be very weird looking. These may use one or more materials in construction like glass, wood, metal, plastics, and textiles. Here are some pictures of those. I tried to pick some cool, weird looking ones. That would be a little bit different. Here is some cool modern contemporary furniture pieces. Okay, now we're gonna move on to chair types. We're actually kind of flying through this pretty fast, guys, not gonna lie. I think that when I do it in class, we always stop and talk for a lot, and a lot of the time, and like ask questions and think of different things, and I get on lots of different tangents. So I don't know if this will necessarily be a full hour long. Okay, then we have our wing chair. This is a high-backed armchair with side pieces projecting from the back. And it's usually, it was funny because it was created, the side pieces that come kind of around your head, that's the wings. And it was originally in order to protect the sitter from drafts. Apparently it was very drafty back when this chair was created. And so those wings were to help protect the sitter from drafts. I do like this style of wing chair. It's a little bit more modern. It's got those tapered splayed legs that I like. But I do like that wing chair. Also, I do like this yellow one too. It looks very, very comfy. Actually, I like both these. I like these wing chairs very much. I would put any of these in my home probably. I wouldn't put that gray one in my house. I don't like that very much. But the example of like the computer type office chair that's a wing chair, kind of a cool, different design. Okay, then we have armchairs. This can be it can be honestly almost anything. But this is a chair with side supports for the arms. Basically, an armchair has places you can put your arms. Super easy to tell, right? There may or may not be fabric or structure between the support and the seat portion. This can be a wooden chair, a metal chair, a fabric, upholstered chair. It can really be anything. I'm going to show you a bunch of different examples. Here are some different examples of armchairs. Different styles. Okay, then we have a side chair, similar to an armchair. However, there is nowhere to place your arms. Your arms hang at your side. Okay, this is a straight back chair without any arms, and this can be a lot of different styles as well, but these are very common dining room chairs. Okay, here, or also bar stools. Here are some cool side chairs. Then we have our splat back. It's exactly the same as our splat back back style. Okay, it's a chair with a slat of wood in the middle of the back, and the splat is an important element of furniture identification since they can be so varied. Here's some examples of splat backs, different styles. Okay, and then we have Windsor. A lot of you have probably seen a lot of these. They're very popular in kitchen dining room sets. This is a wooden dining chair with a semicircular back supported by upright rods. I'm going to show you a picture of one that's a little bit more in style on the next slide. That they don't necessarily have to have a round back, but that's the most common. A chair that's really in style right now in like the whole farmhouse type look is going to be a Windsor, but has a straight back and it's more of a square shape. Here's some examples. I do like the black Windsor chairs a little bit better than the light wood ones like this. I like the black ones, but then there's an example on the left side of one that's more square. It doesn't have a rounded top. It's got more of a square top. Here's some more examples of these ones are rounded, but they don't have the rounded top. And then the other one has arms as well. So you can have a Windsor armchair with turned legs. Okay, then we have ladder back. It's the exact same as the ladder back style we talked about. It's a chair whose back consists of two upright posts connected by horizontal slats. It's like a ladder you can climb. Okay, table styles. We're actually flying through this, guys. This is going to be awesome. So table styles. Well, there's lots of different table styles. We're just going to talk about two different kinds though. First, you have your gate leg. This is a table with one or two drop leaves that are supported when used by a hinged leg swung out from the frame. So you guys can look that when this leg is not swung out, it's pushed up against the end of the table, and then that extra leaf, that's what they call extra pieces to tables that make your table larger, is leaves. That leaf goes down against the side when that leg is not in use. When that leg is swung out from the center and it's locked, you now have a place to hold that leaf up, and that's a gate leg table. Here are some examples of those gate leg tables. And then we have a pedestal table. It's a table supported by a single central column. You can also have a double pedestal table, which is a very popular look. Here's an example of a single pedestal on the right side, and on the left side, a double pedestal. Go check out your dining table, see what kind you have. Okay, and then here's a single pedestal as well, end table, and then this one is a single pedestal, but it's got the extra pieces that make it a little bit different on the legs. Okay, upholstered pieces. First, you have a camelback couch. It's super easy. It looks like a camel. It's a sofa with a curved back, typically seen in more traditional styles like Queen Anne, Chippendale, or Federal. We didn't talk about Federal, but that's fine. Here are some examples of the camelback couch being used in various different settings and styles. Okay, then we have a Lawson. This one's personally my favorite kind of couch because they're very, very comfortable. And you can obviously get them in lots of different styles, which make it, you can personalize your sofa a little bit more. But I like the Lawson because it's a very, very comfortable couch. This is a sofa with a short, squared, overstuffed back and seat cushions. And it can have rolled arms or squared arms that are lower than the back of the couch. There's a red Lawson. Here's a tan Lawson. Here is a brown Lawson with leather rolled arms. And then you can have this in sectionals as well, like the brown one. Here's some Lawson gray pieces, and then the gray one on the bottom as well is an example of a Lawson. Okay, and then we have tuxedo. These ones are really cool. They have a very sleek look to them. However, I have never sat in a tuxedo and been like, oh my gosh, this couch is so unbelievably comfortable. Tuxedos are usually mainly just for looks. I'm not saying a comfortable tuxedo does not exist, but they are few and far between. This is a streamlined type of couch that the arms are the exact same height as its back. They're very cool looking couches. I like them. I'm just saying that I've never sat in one that's like crazy comfortable. By the way, if you didn't know what tufting was, tufting is those beads that are on the side of that one couch on the left, and it makes that indented look. That's tufting. Okay, here's some examples. Also, you can see tufting on that blue one on the right. Okay, and then you have ottomans. I love ottomans. I think they're fantastic. This is a low upholstered seat or footstool without a back or arms, and the seat can be hinged to form a lid. It doesn't have to have a lid, but it can be. Here are some examples of some ottomans. Different sizes, different shapes, tufting or no tufting, depending. Here's some example of two ottomans being used as like a bench seat on the end of that bed. There's an ottoman in the center of that couch that matches the accent pillows. Here's an example of ottomans that can be used for storage. They have like a lid that hinges closed. And then I believe the next slide has nothing to do with ottomans, but I thought it was really cool because it reminded me of this. Check out this bed. This is not an ottoman, but it is cool because I think it's an awesome way to save storage space and to store like different blankets, things like that from your bedroom that can be hidden underneath your bed. Super cool. Okay, let's talk about construction techniques used for upholstered furniture. If you guys ever wondered what an inside of a couch looks like, there you go. That's what the inside of a piece of furniture looks like. First, you have padding. This is for shaping, and it softens cushions and it prolongs your fabric life. Makes it a lot more comfortable. Then you have two different kinds of springs. You've got flat springs, and these are used for less expensive furniture, and they are not as durable. And you can tell which springs are, if they're flat or coil, super easy, because flat, they lay flat. Coil, it's a coil upward, okay? So this chair right here is an example of coiled springs. This is used for higher quality furniture, so it's obviously going to be a little bit more expensive if you have coiled springs. Here's an example of coil on the left and flat on the right. Coil is more expensive and more durable. Okay, when you are looking at cushions to see if they are put together correctly, check the seams and the welts and cording. Those should all be smooth. Patterns should match. Zippers should be sewn straight. There should be sufficient padding, and the fabric should have a tight weave. Okay, cased goods. This is wooden pieces. First, you have your wardrobe or armoire. Okay, it's like it's a closet that's not a closet. It's not built into your home. It's a closet that you add into your space, okay? These are very, very popular in older homes because older homes, one of the most ways that things were built is your living room and your kitchen were ginormous. And then your bedrooms were super small and your closets were super, super, super small. So because closets were so small, you didn't have a lot of storage space for your clothing, and so people would have wardrobes or armoires added in. If you think about like the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, that book or that movie, they go into the wardrobe, okay? So it's a tall freestanding cabinet with doors that hide shelves and drawers, and there's also space for hanging clothes. I'll show you a lot of options here. You've got some more modern sleek ones. You have some more traditional ones. Both of these have mirrors on them, kind of like a body length mirror that could be used. A nice little touch. Here you have some more modern sleek ones. This one has a mirror as well. The purple one has attached cabinets of drawers, which is really nice. Okay, then we have a secretary. This is a wood desk with a fold-out top and drawers and a hutch with shelves for books. The hutch can have wood or glass doors. Basically, think of it as a piece of wooden furniture, and the top folds out so you can work on it like a secretary would work. Here are some examples of those. We have that brown one on the right is very old-fashioned. Here's a little bit more modern type look of some secretaries. Okay, then we have a buffet. I personally love buffets. This is a piece of furniture that has shelves and drawers, typically for storing dishes, and food can also be placed on top for serving. Buffets are usually placed inside dining rooms because they can be used for that whole buffet style, and they are used to store dining room type materials. Here are some examples of some buffets. These are some very modern, sleek looking buffets. Here's a little bit more traditional farmhousey type look, the white one. Here we've got an industrial type traditional look on the right side. There is the one in the dining room. You can see that both these are placed in dining rooms. The one has like a mirrored glass look, which is kind of cool. Then we've got a solid gray piece on the right side. Okay, then we have a highboy. I hate these. I hate them so much. I cannot find a highboy that I like. I just think they're very, very, very old-fashioned. But a highboy is also, if you watch Beauty and the Beast, that's an example of a highboy that I think the highboy is I can't remember, but anyways, I remember seeing that in Beauty and the Beast. It's a tall chest of drawers, generally made in two separate pieces, but not meant to come apart. The piece is supported by 4 legs. Here are some highboys. Here are some refurbished highboys to maybe try and look a little bit more modernized or less old-fashioned, but still, they're not my favorite look. Here's another example of a refurbished one. Okay, construction techniques used for cased goods. Let's talk about different types of joints. Now, I'm not going to lie to you guys, so the amount of times I want to say that's what she said when I'm talking about joints is extensive. I apologize for my immaturity when we talk about joints. Anyways, first you have your butt corner, okay? The butt joint is a very easy woodworking joint, and it's 2 pieces literally butted together, like think of butting heads, okay? And it's a very simple joint. It's usually a very weak joint, so it's made on cheap furniture, and it can be reinforced with like glue or screws and things like that. Here we have our dovetail. This one is a strong woodworking joint, and it's great for tensile strength, which means for like pulling apart. and you use the dovetail joints to connect the two pieces. One piece has what is called pins and the other piece has what is called tails, and they interlock together. So take your hands, spread your fingers apart, and place them together. That's like a dovetail, okay? And the reason it's called a dovetail is because it kind of looks like the feather of a dove's tail. Then we have a dowel. This is where round wooden pins of small diameter are used to strengthen a joint. They can be used instead of nails or screws, and they should be dipped in glue and driven at a tight fit into holes made for their reception. Okay, and then we have our mortise and tenon. This is one of the more strongest woodworking joints. It is a simple but strong, and woodworkers use it for many years. You insert one end piece into a hole into the other piece, and you call the end of the first piece a tenon, and you call the hole in the second piece a mortise. Okay, and then we have a tongue and groove. Okay, so this is one of the more popular woodworking joints. They are very, very popular in flooring. Okay, so in wood flooring and in laminate flooring and vinyl flooring. Okay, this is how they are attached together. This is one piece has a slot, which is like the groove, and it's cut along one edge, and the other piece has a tongue cut on the mating edge. As a result, two or more pieces fit together closely. Let's talk about woods and finishes. Okay, so you have your hardwoods. These are, so basically there are two different types of trees in this world, and there's two categories. You have your deciduous trees, which is, these mean they lose your leaves annually. So these are the trees that as soon as fall comes, all the leaves fall off and they are bare during those months. And then when spring comes back, they start to grow their leaves back, okay? So these are for more durable and dent-resistant preferred or fine furniture. Basically, I want you guys to think of the tree name, and if the tree name sounds very fancy, like mahogany, maple. Oh, my table's made of solid oak, you ask. Like it sounds like, oh, you like my cabinets? They're pure walnut. They just sound very, very expensive, okay? And so these are gonna be your hardwoods. Think of the harder the wood, sorry, the more expensive and the more durable it is. Then you have your coniferous. These are your softwoods, okay? And these are cone-bearing trees, the coniferous cone-bearing trees. Basically, it's a pine tree, okay? So it's trees with needle-shaped leaves, which are your pine needles. And these are going to be like your cedar pines, your pine wood, your redwood, your spruce, your cypress, your Douglas fir, those types of things. Those are all your pine trees. And these are very, these can develop cracks and dents, and they're very less expensive. So a lot of the times what people do is they'll buy like pine wood because it's cheap. They'll build it and then they'll stain it with a cherry stain or a mahogany stain or a oak stain to make it look more expensive than it is, okay? So that's how you can get cheaper furniture that looks expensive. So speaking of staining, this is the process of embellishing and or protecting the surface of a wood material used on case goods. And it shows you, like as an example, what kind of wood you have. And these are your different types of stains that it's going to look. So if you get a golden oak stain, a provincial stain, a colonial maple stain, an English chestnut, an ebony, those types of things, that's the color that your wood is going to be after you stain it. So here's an example of a stain finish. It's a finish that penetrates wood pores to enhance the natural color or give a different color to wood. So here's an example of your, if you have oak wood, and then if you look across, these are all the different stains that will add it. If you have maple wood, that's what a golden honey will look like, a walnut and that kind of stuff. If you have a walnut wood, you can tell that the stains all make it darker. So it just kind of depends on your wood that you have. And then if you choose a stain, you can see what that stain is going to look like on that wood. Okay. You guys can look at that for a second if you want. Pause the video, see different stains. Okay, and then you have a varnish. This is a transparent coating used on wood. It does not change the color of your wood. It enhances the natural look of the wood. Okay. Geez, sorry, that is loud. They're tearing up my floors downstairs. Okay, so here's an example of a wood floor that's in the process of being finished. The first half does not have a varnish. The second half does have a varnish. So it does not change the color. It just creates that clear top coat that enhances the wood. So here's an example of what wood would look like with a clear finish. Pretty much the exact same, it just enhances it. Okay, then we are almost done, guys. We are on our very last part. So we have our manufactured lumber. This is man-made wood. First, you have your particle board. This is made by combining chips of wood with resin and compressing the mixture to form a larger piece of wood. If you were to cut it or look at the ends, you can see that it's a bunch of chips of wood compressed together, okay? So that's particle board, a bunch of particles of wood. Then you have plywood. This is made by laminating thin layers of inexpensive wood together with the grain of each layer turned at 90 degrees. So if you were to look at the ends, you can see that there are lots of layers of this wood, okay? Lots of plies. Think of your 2-ply toilet paper. It means there are layers to it. Then you have your veneers. This is my least favorite kind of man-made wood because I think it looks the cheapest personally, and it is the least durable, and when it like peels off, you're screwed. Okay, so this is a thin sheet, layers of finished wood used as a top surface over other less expensive materials and case goods. You'll see these a lot on like your desks at school. Okay, and we're not doing that assignment unfortunately because we can't, because we're not 3D printing. So unfortunately, that is the end of our class. I mean, our lectures, honestly. As soon as you finish this lesson, shoot on over and take that test. Remember, you can do it at separate times if you'd like. And then as soon as you're done with the test, you're done for this week for this class. And then next week, I will be assigning your final project, which will be due on May 15th. I love you guys all, and I miss you so much. Bye. Bye.